The other big issue over the weekend, and I would love to talk about yesterday, and we'll still do. We were going to have Ella Henry back on the show this morning to do with the Tāmaki Makaurau by-election, which, if you remember, one of the leading Maori female leaders of our country is Ella Henry, and I had her former Human Rights Commissioner as well. And we were both sitting there on Friday going, oh, well, it'll be an interesting election. And Ella saying, who's going to win? And she said, well, I don't know. It's going to be very close. And it was a bit like, oh, I don't know. It was a bit like a rugby game, because Saturday night was just spectacular entertainment. Anyhow, we now know it was just the curtain raiser, but at the time it seemed spectacular. You had this incredible rugby test played out at Eden Park at 7 o'clock. And then the next game in town was the results of the Tāmaki by-election. Listen, I've got to be honest with you. There was only one question that I was interested on Saturday night, was how many people were going to vote. And there is the issue. But can I say that if there was any view that the extraordinary bath that was delivered to Pine Hanare and the Labour Party on Saturday night was somehow a clear indication that Maori sentiment and electoral opinion was swinging hard left, I do think you need to have a really good look at the turnout. Because the question that really comes out of the humiliation for Labour, Pine Hanare and Willie Jackson in particular, but of the result in general, is that a question, and it's this question: are Maori as disenchanted with politics and politicians as frankly everyone else? You see, there's been this narrative from Te Pāti Māori, but also the Hikoi against the Treaty Principles Bill in particular. And then there was the sort of John Campbell hand-wringing cheerleading and all the Radio New Zealand and state broadcasters saying this is the result of some incredible Maori rejuvenation of both language, culture, a move towards self-identity and sovereignty that cannot be stopped, And there was John Campbell literally wetting himself. I'm sure that man has to change his trousers after every time he reports on anything Maori, that guy, just quietly. Must have a very, very, very expensive dry cleaning bill. But the thing that immediately struck you on Saturday night was, in a by-election that was meant to be a declaration on one hand of common sense, or on the other of Maori sovereignty, 3/4 of Maori voters registered in Tāmaki Makaurau stayed away. 3 out of 4. The turnout was just a little over 27%. So roughly a quarter, roughly 3/4 stayed away. You can't take that result as an endorsement of Te Pāti Māori, Maori sovereignty, Maori independence. You can take it as a categorical rejection of Labour, who gained only 3,000 votes on the night. But just before people start getting, hey, this is inexorable, getting on a plane, dear Lord, I think the hysteria that has been whipped up by both Te Pāti Māori and by the mainstream media, particularly Television New Zealand and Radio New Zealand, and the commentary by Mikey Sherman on Sunday night on Television News, for those of you who had the chance to watch or listen to it, was infantile. Why that woman has a job anywhere near the media is beyond me. Her analysis is puerile and actually not only not very bright, but almost anti-intellectual. So I don't know, but she is the classic DE, and you just, every time now Mikey Sherman opens her mouth, it's always to put the other foot in it, and always to remind us that our state broadcaster has a very strong still policy of DEI appointments, because that's the only way this woman could have ever got a job as the political editor of TVNZ. And walking away from The obvious, which is that 3/4 of Maori voters didn't vote, seems to give you some indication that all the hysteria that has attempted the hikoi and a whole series of other events over the last 12 months is certainly not shared by mainstream Maori in this country. And the other thing you've got to remember about those mainstream Maori who didn't vote, they were registered to vote. They were registered to vote. They actually had to make the attempt to get on the roll, go through the process, fill it in. We're not even talking about the Maori, who are even more disenfranchised and don't care, who wouldn't have even bothered to get on the roll in the first place. So this is the motivated individuals who enrolled themselves. 3/4 of them didn't vote. There is the rejection, I think, of both Te Pāti Māori and Labour. Listen, it was you couldn't have escaped this by-election if you're Māori living in Tāmaki Makaurau. It's not a very big area. It's roughly Greater Auckland, essentially. There was plenty of polling booths. I looked at them all. There was almost 100. It was they had pack and save polling booths. Did you know that, Josh? They actually had polling booths at pack and saves where they thought people would go.
Oh wow,
The
that's quite
turnouts,
incredible, actually.
the turnouts were 20 or 30 people. No one wanted to vote at the end of the day. They made that choice on an election that was meant to be dramatic and tell us something about Māori. It sure did. They're normal, just like the rest of us. They're disenchanted with politics and politicians, just like the rest of us. We have an awful lot in common, and more than Te Pāti Māori and the Labour Party would seem to admit.